Chapter 15. Pain shot through Brady's chest as the weights landed on him with a loud thud. The air whooshed from his lungs. He scrabbled for a hold on the weights, tried to push them up again. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The weights were crushing him, crushing out every bit of air. Can't breathe. Going to die, Brady thought. Suffocating. John's face appeared, loomed over Brady. John's gray eyes were wide with surprise. John grunted loudly, and the pressing weight suddenly lifted from Brady's chest. Brady opened his mouth and filled his lungs with air. He rolled off the bench, dropped to his knees, his chest throbbing with pain. "What happened?" John cried. "Are you okay? What happened?" "The girl," Brady gasped hoarsely. "The scarred girl, at the window." John spun toward the window. He lurched over to it and peeked outside. Then he turned back to Brady, shaking his head. "Nobody out there." "Not now, maybe," Brady cried as he struggled to get up. "But she was. She was staring in, watching me." "Hey, come on." John helped Brady sit on the bench. "Take it easy, okay? She's not there now. You sure you're not seeing things?" "Seeing things?" Brady reached for his towel and wiped his face. "What are you talking about?" "Well, you were just telling me about her." John shrugged and sat next to Brady. "She really creeps you out. She's on your mind, right? And then you think you see her." "I did see her," Brady protested. He drew another gulp of air. His breathing began to slow. "But you're right about one thing. She creeps me out." "Because of Sharon," John told him. "You're freaked because this scar girl reminds you of Sharon." Brady stared at him. "That's it," he murmured. "I can't believe I didn't get it before now. She does remind me of Sharon. Her face, all cut to pieces." Brady breathed deeply and shut his eyes. Images flashed in his mind. He was back on Miller Hill, staring at the gleaming white snow, the steep hill, smooth as glass, feeling the cold air whistle past his ears, hearing Sharon Knowles' voice scream in terror, watching her crash through the pines and the thorn bushes, screaming all the way down to the bottom. And then he saw her face when he turned her limp, dead body over, the skin slashed to a pulp, raw and mangled, bleeding into the snow, so cut up he couldn't recognize her. Brady shuddered. If Sharon hadn't died, her face would be scarred like that other girl's. That's why the sight of her frightened him so much. She reminded him of Sharon. That explains my reaction, he thought, but it doesn't explain the girl. Why has she been watching me, calling me, warning me about Rasha? Brady's eyes snapped open. He stuffed the towel into his gym bag and jumped up from the bench. John stared at him, a concerned expression on his face. "Where are you going?" "To see Rasha," Brady told him. "I've got to talk to her about that girl." "I thought Rasha didn't know anybody with a scarred face," John pointed out. "I know, but there has to be some kind of connection between them. Maybe if I talk to Rasha, she'll remember something. There has to be a reason why this girl keeps warning me about her." John frowned. "Listen, Brady, be careful, okay?" "What do you mean? I'm just going to talk to Rasha." "I know, but this whole thing is weird." John wiped sweat off his forehead. "Don't beat up on me, man, but you have to admit, you don't know much about Rasha." Brady shifted his weight impatiently. "I know all I need to know, John. She's perfect, okay? It's the other girl I'm worried about." John started to say something, then shook his head. "Okay, just take it easy, and good luck." Hoisting his gym bag, Brady hurried out of the weight room and down the hallway. A pay telephone stood near the boys' locker room. He set his bag down and took out his wallet. Carefully folded inside was a napkin with Rasha's address and phone number on it. She had written them down for him at the coffee shop yesterday, and he made sure to keep them in a safe place. Brady found some loose change at the bottom of the gym bag. He fed a coin into the phone and punched the numbers. 1 ring, 2. Then a shrill electronic blast. Brady winced and started to hang up. Then a taped message came over the line. "You have dialed a non-working number. Please hang up and try again." I must have dialed it wrong, Brady thought. He hung up and his coin clattered down. He fed it into the slot, checked the phone number, then punched it. 1 ring, 2. The piercing shriek blasted his ear again. "You have dialed a non-working number," the recorded voice began. "Please hang—" Brady slammed the phone down. What was going on? He smoothed the napkin out on the slanted metal plate underneath the phone. He read the number carefully. That's what he'd dialed. How could it be a non-working number? Rasha had written it herself. She couldn't possibly have gotten her own phone number wrong. Weird. Maybe the phone company had messed up somehow. Crossed wires or something. That must be it. But he really needed to talk to Rasha. He had to find out if she knew that girl. He had to get to the bottom of this. He glanced at the napkin again. Rasha had written her address beneath the phone number, 7142 Fear Street. Brady folded the napkin and put it back in his wallet. He picked up his bag and pushed open the door to the boys' locker room. A fast shower, some fresh clothes, and he'd be out of here, on his way to Rasha's house. I should have done this in the first place, he thought, as he stood under the steaming spray of water. Seeing Rasha face to face beats talking to her on the phone any day. Brady soaped and rinsed, toweled off quickly, and dressed in the jeans and maroon and gray shady-side sweatshirt he had brought. He ran a comb through his wet hair, grabbed his jacket, and hurried out to his car. Brady drove through the business district on Division Street. He turned onto Mill Road and drove south until he came to Fear Street. Fear Street was very different from North Hills, where Brady lived. His neighborhood was made up of large houses with neatly mowed lawns, carefully shoveled snow, no potholes in the streets. The houses on Fear Street didn't follow any pattern. Some were mansions with peeling shingles and sagging gutters. Others looked clean and modern. Some old houses sprawled over huge yards. Others weren't much bigger than Brady's double garage. Brady's heart pounded. Fear Street had a reputation for being strange. Sudden, unexplained drops in temperature, kids disappearing, weird howls in the woods at night. But it's daytime, Brady reminded himself, and I have to find Rasha. Brady sped through the first few blocks. Then he slowed the car, carefully checking the house numbers. In the cemetery block, he read the number 5657 on a tilted mailbox at the end of a driveway. Good. Rasha should only be a couple of blocks away. He passed the cemetery and slowed to a crawl. Talk about creepy, he thought with a shudder. It looked so cold, with snow piled on the stone grave markers. Sharon Knowles was buried there. Brady had watched her casket sink into the cold earth on a raw, gray day last winter. They kept the casket closed at her wake, because of her face, her slashed, ruined face. Brady never told anyone that Sharon didn't want to go down Miller Hill. Thinking about it now, he felt a sharp stab of guilt. But it wasn't really his fault she died. Sure, she didn't want to sled there, but what happened was an accident. Don't think about it, Brady commanded himself. Don't think about Sharon. Find Rasha. Across the cemetery stood a house numbered 7023. It was on the left, so 7142 must be on the right. Brady slowed to a crawl again, past one house, 7028, past a vacant lot, past more houses, one of them numbered 7030. Brady inched along, counting houses in case Rasha's wasn't numbered. 7134, 7136, and then no more houses. Brady braked, then backed up to the last house he'd passed. He drove slowly forward again, glancing left and right. He couldn't believe it. Nothing but woods stood on either side of the street. No house numbered 7142. No houses at all. Nothing but woods as far as he could see. Chapter 16. The next afternoon, Brady prowled the kitchen, opening cabinets and peering into the refrigerator without really seeing anything. He felt fluttery, totally stressed out. All he could think about was Rasha. Where was she? Where could he find her? How could he find her? He had tried her number a dozen times the day before, and heard the error message every time. He called the phone company and talked to a human being who gave him the same message. The number Rasha gave him was a non-working number. He had driven up and down Fear Street for 20 minutes, rechecking the house numbers. He stopped a kid on a bike and asked if he knew where the Nelsons lived. The kid had never heard of the Nelsons, and 7142 Fear Street didn't exist. Brady slammed a cabinet shut and leaned against the counter. No one knew Rasha Nelson at St. Anne's. No working phone number, no house on Fear Street. It made no sense. It was as if Rasha didn't exist. But he had talked with her, sat beside her in the movies, held her hand, kissed her. Brady shivered with pleasure, remembering Rasha's kisses. Rasha was out there somewhere, and he had to find her. But he didn't have the first clue how to do it. The kitchen clock caught Brady's eye. School had let out early today because of a teacher's conference. He had time on his hands, but the only thing he wanted to do with that time was spend it with Rasha. Where was she? Why had she given him the wrong phone number? The wrong address? Finally, Brady gave himself a shake. If he stood around wondering about Rasha much longer, he'd go nuts. Homework, he thought. Brady grabbed a Mountain Dew out of the refrigerator and carried his books into the living room. He spread his homework out on his dad's big wooden desk and reached for the bio notebook. As he flipped through the pages, he spotted Allie's handwriting. She'd copied her notes into his book a couple of weeks ago when he'd been out sick with a cold. Allie. Brady leaned back in a desk chair and thought about her. He knew she was still upset about the party. Maybe when he'd finished his homework, he would go see her. Not to tell her about Rasha, he wasn't ready to do that yet. Without Rasha, he didn't have anything else to do. After popping the tab on the soda can, Brady took a sip and flipped to the notes he needed to study. Rasha's face drifted back into his mind. He tried to shake the image away, but the bio notes blurred. All he could see were Rasha's green eyes and pouty red lips, Rasha's smile, her kisses. He didn't want to study. He didn't want to go visit Allie. All he wanted was Rasha. He couldn't get her out of his head. The doorbell rang. Brady jumped up and hurried out into the hall, hoping it would be Rasha. But even if it wasn't, he'd be glad for the distraction. He couldn't concentrate anyway. The bell rang again. Brady eagerly pulled the door open and felt a wave of relief wash over him. Rasha stood on the porch, looking beautiful in a purple skirt, a soft black sweater, and a black leather jacket. Brady's heart beat faster at the sight of her. "Hey, this is perfect," he exclaimed. "I was just thinking about you." "I was thinking about you too, Brady," Rasha smiled, a sexy smile. "Fate, right?" "Definitely," Brady agreed. "I wasn't sure you'd be home, but I decided to take a chance and drop by." Rasha touched his arm. "I'm glad I did." "So am I," Brady told her. "Really glad." "Well," she glanced over his shoulder, "aren't you going to invite me in?" "Oh, sure." Brady stepped aside and led her into the front hall. "I'm really glad you came over," he repeated. "I wanted to see you, but I went looking for you yesterday and—" "You did?" Rasha interrupted. "You're so sweet." She leaned close and kissed him. Brady put his hands on her shoulders as he kissed her back. "Let's sit down," Rasha suggested. Brady took her hand and led her down the hall. As they entered the living room, Rasha tripped on the white throw rug that covered part of the polished wooden floor. "Careful," Brady warned, tightening his grip on her hand to keep her from falling. "Everybody always trips over that rug." "Maybe you should get rid of it," Rasha commented, steadying herself against the desk. Brady laughed. "Try telling my mother that. Anyway, I went looking for you yesterday, but you gave me the wrong address or something." Rasha raised her eyebrows. "I'm pretty sure I know where I live, Brady." "Yeah, but check this out." Brady pulled out his wallet and removed the napkin. "See?" he asked, handing it to her. 7142 Fear Street, right? Except there is no 7142 Fear Street. I drove there. No house, just woods. What's the deal?" "The deal is it's not 7142, Rasha replied. "It's 1142. Can't you read?" Brady snatched the napkin back and stared at the address. "It looks like a 7 to me, but maybe the ink smeared." "I'm sure that's what happened," Rasha agreed. She picked up a sword-shaped silver letter opener from the desk and ran her thumb along the blade. 1142 is the big gray house on the corner. I guess you drove right past it. What a shame." "Yeah, except—" Brady paused. Sighing impatiently, Rasha slapped the blade of the letter opener against her palm. "Except what?" Brady glanced at her. "Your phone number? What about it?" "Before I tried to find your house, I called you," Brady told her. "But I kept getting a recording that said it was a non-working number. I called the phone company, too, and they told me the same thing." Rasha shrugged. "Well, don't ask me. I mean, the phone was working fine this morning." "It was?" "Of course it was," she exclaimed. "What is this, a court trial?" Brady shook his head. "Of course not." "Brady, what's your problem?" Rasha demanded. "You read my house number wrong, and you know the phone company. They're always messing up. Why are you checking on me again? Why are you always so suspicious?" Brady frowned, confused. "It's just that—" A car door slammed outside. Brady made his way to the front window and pulled back the curtain. Allie's car sat in the driveway. Allie's auburn hair glinted red in the afternoon sun as she hurried up the walk toward the front door. Brady dropped the curtain and spun around. "It's Allie," he cried, panic in his voice. "Who?" Rasha asked. "Never mind." Brady glanced around, feeling trapped. "Listen, Rasha, I can't explain right now, but you've got to leave." "Leave?" Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy, but could you go out the back way? Brady jumped as the doorbell rang. Hurry, he pleaded. I'll explain everything later. Okay, I guess. Rasha gave him a confused smile and started across the room toward the door. The doorbell rang again. Thanks, Rasha, Brady told her gratefully. Listen, I'll call you later and we can— Look out, he cried. As the toe of Rasha's boot caught on the edge of the throw rug, Rasha gasped and started to fall. Her arms flailed the air as she tried to catch her balance. Brady grabbed her arm, trying to keep her from falling. Rasha swung her other arm to clutch his shoulder. Instead, she hit his side. Brady felt something cold against his skin. Then he felt a burning sensation. Pain. His side was on fire. He screamed, grabbed at his waist. The pain blazed through him. He yanked his hand away. The furniture began to spin. Dizzy, Brady gazed down at himself. Something silver poked out through his shirt. With a strangled cry, Brady realized what it was, the handle of the letter opener. But he could only see part of the blade, because the rest of it was buried in Brady's skin. Chapter 17. Brady gasped. The room spun. Blackness edged his vision. The pain grew sharper as it spread over his body. He uttered a low moan. Rasha cried out in horror. Oh no! Oh, Brady! What have I done? Brady screamed again as Rasha grabbed the letter opener with both hands and yanked it out. His vision began to blur and his legs wobbled. He fell to the floor. Rasha's voice seemed to come from very far away. I'm so sorry, she exclaimed frantically. Oh, Brady, are you okay? Dark red blood seeped from Brady's wound, formed a widening circle on his pale blue shirt. He felt the thick, sticky wetness oozing through his fingers, saw it trickle onto the white rug beneath him. He moaned again, tightly clutching his side. Rasha knelt beside him, her hand gently on his arm, her green eyes wide with fear. You'll be okay. I'm sure you'll be okay, she cried. I'll get you to a hospital, Brady. Don't worry. Brady gritted his teeth as the fierce pain bit into him. Beads of sweat popped out on his face. His body trembled. Every breath was agony. Yeah, he muttered, his jaw clenched. The hospital. He took a shallow breath, tried not to scream again. The front door slammed. Brady? Allie's worried voice called out. Brady? Footsteps pounded down the hall toward the living room. Brady? What's wrong? Allie cried. I heard you scream. Brady heard Allie's sudden gasp. The rug muffled her footsteps as she quickly approached him. Another sharp gasp. Oh no! Allie shrieked. Brady! Brady, what happened? What happened? What did she do to you? She... Brady peered up at Allie through the blackness that threatened to engulf him. He tried to say more, but he couldn't get enough breath. Rasha jumped up, still gripping the letter opener. What happened? Who are you? Allie asked Rasha. Her gray eyes widened in horror as she saw the blood dripping from the silver blade onto the white rug. You stabbed him! You stabbed Brady! It was an accident, Rasha cried. She flung the letter opener aside and dropped to her knees next to Brady. I tripped on the rug. I forgot I had the letter opener in my hand. It was an accident. I'd never hurt him on purpose. Who are you? Allie demanded again. What difference does it make? Rasha shouted. Help me. Help me or he'll bleed to death. We've got to get him to the hospital. Rasha gently slipped her hand under Brady's arm. Allie took hold of the other one. As the two girls tried to lift him to his feet, searing pain sliced through Brady's side again. Pinpoints of light danced in front of his eyes. His vision grew dim. The blackness closed in. Something cool touched Brady's forehead. Something gently stroked his hair back. Fingers, Brady thought. Cool fingers. Felt so good. As he began to open his eyes, a wave of nausea washed over him. He closed them. Brady? A voice murmured. Brady licked his lips. Mom? His mother brushed his hair back again. Your dad and I are both here, honey. You're in Shadyside Hospital. You're going to be fine, son. His father's gruff voice assured him. You'll be out shoveling the front walk in no time. Brady started to laugh. The pain slammed into his side. The laugh turned into a groan. Sweat bathed his forehead. No joking yet, he gasped. Sorry, his father murmured, patting his shoulder. Brady, honey, you should sleep some more, his mother told him. The doctor said we could stay only a few minutes. If he finds us here when he comes back, he'll kick us out. We'll go down to the cafeteria and have some coffee, Brady's father said. You sleep. We'll be back in a little while." Brady felt his mother kiss his forehead, heard the two of them tiptoe out of the room. He tried opening his eyes again, but he couldn't focus. Pain hammered at his side, but he'd be all right. He lay quietly, taking small, shallow breaths, and remembering what had happened. Allie coming to the door, Rasha tripping on the rug, then the pain, the blood. Rasha horrified, Allie screaming, both of them trying to help him up. More searing pain. Then nothing, until now. Brady gritted his teeth. His side felt tight, stitches probably. It still throbbed and burned. Hadn't the doctor given him anything for the pain? He must have. That's probably why he felt so groggy. But he could use another shot or pill or something. Brady was trying to get up the strength to move, to look for a call button when he heard the door whoosh open. Footsteps approached the bed. A nurse, he thought. Good. Time for some medicine. And some water. His mouth felt full of dust. He opened his eyes. Nausea hit him again, but not as bad. A pale blob hovered above him, blurred and fuzzy. A face, he figured. "I want some water," he murmured, "and my side hurts. It's pretty bad." The blob nodded. Brady blinked, trying to bring the face into focus. Why wasn't the nurse moving? "So," he mumbled groggily, "can you help me?" "That's what I'm here for, Brady," a voice replied. "Good, Brady stopped. He'd heard that voice before, twice before, on the telephone, warning him to stay away from Rasha. Panic flooded him, but he couldn't run. He couldn't move. Gradually, his vision cleared. The scarred girl stared down at him. Her eyes glittered angrily from their swollen sockets. Her lips twisted back. The scars crawled across her face like worms. Brady gasped. Why was she here? Who let her in? "Don't worry, Brady," she told him. "I didn't come here to hurt you." Brady's heart pounded. The pulse throbbed in his wound. He sucked in a hissing breath. "What do you want?" he stammered. "To see if you're ready to listen to me now," the girl replied. "You didn't before. I warned you, but you didn't listen. And look what happens to you." Brady rolled his head on the pillow. "Accident," he muttered. "It was no accident," the girl insisted. "Who are you?" Brady asked. "Why are you doing this?" "I'm not doing it. Don't you understand?" she snapped. "It's Rasha. She's doing it. Rasha wants to kill you, Brady, and she almost did." "Kill me?" Brady whispered. "Yes," the girl hissed. "She already tried twice. Do you want to know the truth about Rasha? Do you want to listen now?" Brady licked his lips again, thought of Rasha, the perfect girl. He nodded. "Tell me." The girl leaned over his bed, brought her scars closer, her ugly face only a foot from Brady's. "Rasha is..." Chapter 18. The door whooshed open. The girl jumped back. Footsteps rapidly approached the bed. A doctor peered at Brady, then frowned at the girl. "No visitors, miss," he ordered sternly. "This patient needs his rest. How did you get in here?" The girl remained silent. "Well, you shouldn't be here," the doctor told her. He grabbed her arm and began pulling her away from the bed. "Wait!" Brady cried. "Are you in pain?" the doctor asked him, still pulling the girl toward the door. "I'll send a nurse. Come on," he added to the girl. "Wait!" Brady cried again, struggling to sit up. "Wait! Don't go!" Too late. The door closed. The girl was gone. Brady sank back against the pillow, gasping with pain and with fear. What did the scarred girl know about Rasha? What had she started to tell him? On Saturday morning, Brady gingerly eased himself into the back seat of his family's car. "Careful, Brady," his mother warned anxiously, standing beside him. "Just get yourself in, and I'll buckle the seatbelt for you." "Thanks, Mom, but give it a rest, okay?" Brady's side was still sore, but he felt much stronger. "I'm not an invalid." "Of course not, but you are weak," his mother replied. "You lost a lot of blood," his father added. "Yeah, but I'm not too weak to fasten my own seatbelt." Brady pulled the belt over and snapped it in place. "See? I didn't even break a sweat." His mother laughed. All right. We'll stop hovering, but you do have to take it easy for a while." As his father pulled the car out of the hospital parking lot, Brady leaned back in his seat and gazed out the window, thinking. Physically, he could take it easy, no problem. But his mind was another story. It wouldn't keep still. Hadn't kept still ever since he'd seen that girl in his hospital room, standing by his bed, glaring down at him and warning him again. "Rasha wants to kill you," she'd said. Unbelievable. "Rasha is bad news," John told him when he came to visit at the hospital. "She's been nothing but trouble for you since the day you met her." True, Brady had to admit. Rasha had scolded his hand, wrecked his dad's car, stabbed him. Definitely accidents, but major trouble, especially the last one. But it didn't make any difference. He couldn't stop thinking of her. He couldn't wait to see her again. Rasha hadn't visited him in the hospital. Too ashamed, Brady figured, feeling too guilty to face him. But he'd find her soon, hold her and kiss her, tell her it wasn't her fault, and everything would be perfect. Looks as if you have a visitor, Brady's dad remarked as he turned the car into the driveway. Brady leaned forward and gazed through the windshield. A girl stood on the front porch. A yellow cap covered her hair. The ends of a purple muffler hung down her back. Purple. Could it be Rasha? Brady wondered. His heart started pounding in anticipation. The girl turned at the sound of the car. Strands of auburn hair peeked out from the front of the hat. Disappointed, Brady slumped back against the seat. Not Rasha. Allie. Allie had come to the hospital. He'd been groggy from the painkiller, so she didn't stay long. But she came to see him. She sent him flowers and a funny card, too. But Rasha is the one I want, Brady thought. I can't help it. I can't help it. Allie waved and waited for the Carlins to join her on the porch. I hope you don't mind having a visitor so soon, she told Brady. Are you kidding? Brady smiled, hiding his disappointment. If you weren't here, Mom would make me get into bed, and she'd take my temperature every half hour. They all entered the house. Let's go into the den, and you can catch me up on everything I've missed, he told Allie. Brady's parents went upstairs. Allie followed Brady into the den across the hall from the kitchen. Hey, thanks for the card and the flowers, Brady told her. He shrugged off his jacket and sank into the leather recliner. They were great. You're welcome. Allie stood in front of the fireplace and stared into it, even though no fire was burning. How are you feeling, Brady? Not bad. Brady swung his feet onto the ottoman. Just a little sore and kind of tired. But the doctor says I'll be back in shape real fast. That's good. Allie continued to stare into the empty grate. Why don't you sit down? Brady suggested. Take off your coat. Want something to drink? Thanks, but I'm not staying long. Allie turned around. Her gray eyes narrowed as she stared at him. That should make you happy, right? What do you mean? He asked. I mean, you probably can't wait until I leave so we can call your new girlfriend, she explained. Brady felt his face heat up. Listen, Allie. No. Allie held up her hand to cut off his words. You listen, Brady, she told him. When I came into your house the other day and saw you lying there, bleeding, I thought that girl had stabbed you. I thought she was some psycho stranger who broke into your house or something. Brady kept quiet. But then, on the way to the hospital, she set me straight, Allie continued. She shook her head. Boy, did she set me straight. Allie, How could you do that to me, Brady? Allie demanded. How could you pretend we were going together when you were seeing somebody else at the same time? Brady shook his head. I don't know, he admitted. I just couldn't figure out a way to tell you, I guess. So you lied to me. Allie gazed at him, a sad, disappointed expression in her eyes. You should have been honest, Brady. You shouldn't have been sneaking around with another girl. Yeah, Brady agreed. I'm sorry, Allie. You're right. I'm really sorry. So am I. Brady stood up. Well, now that you know the truth, I guess you don't want to go out with me anymore, huh? I guess not. Allie gazed at him a moment longer, then crossed to the door. Goodbye, Brady. Brady waited until he heard the front door close. Then he sighed and went into the kitchen. He grabbed a bag of pretzels from the cabinet and started up the stairs to his room. His mother met him on her way down. Did Allie leave already? She asked. Yeah, she couldn't stay long, Brady told her. Well, you need to rest anyway. Your father went to the office to catch up on some work, and I'm going out to the store. She patted him on the shoulder. You'll be all right, won't you? Stop worrying, Mom. I'm fine. I actually am fine, Brady thought as he climbed the stairs. Sure, he felt bad about Allie, but he felt relieved, too. No more lying or sneaking around. From now on, he and Rasha could see each other any time, any place. In his room, Brady broke open the bag and ate a handful of pretzels. They tasted great, especially after the cardboard stuff they served him at the hospital. He kicked off his shoes and carefully stretched out on the bed. As he reached for the telephone to call Rasha, it rang. Hello? He answered. Brady. John's voice sounded relieved. Good. You're okay. I'm great. Stop acting like my mother. Brady stuffed another pretzel into his mouth. What's up? He mumbled. Plenty. Can you come over? John asked. We have to talk. About what? Brady heard the tension in his friend's voice. What's wrong, John? You sound really stressed. I am. I found out some stuff about Rasha, John explained. You won't believe it. What? Brady sat up quickly, wincing as the stitches in his side pulled. What did you find out? It's that girl, John exclaimed. The one with the scars. She... Wait a minute, Brady broke in. I thought we were talking about Rasha. We are. Just listen. That girl with the scars is here. John lowered his voice. Major weirdness, man, but I think it's true. The girl says... A beep sounded in Brady's ear. Hold on a sec, John. It's my call waiting. Let me see who it is. Hoping to hear Rasha's husky voice, Brady pushed the button to take the call on the other line. Hello? Hello? No one answered. Brady pushed the button again. I'm back, John. Silence. John, you there? No answer. Brady hung up, then punched in John's number. The phone rang 5 times. 10. 15. Brady hung up. John has to be home, he thought. I was talking to him 10 seconds ago. His phone must be messed up or something. He tapped the telephone nervously, picked it up and dialed John again. Still no answer. What had John learned about Rasha? He sounded really upset. And why didn't he answer the phone? Brady pulled his shoes back on and hurried downstairs. He slipped his car keys off the hook in the kitchen, grabbed his jacket from the den, and hurried outside. A light snow had started to fall. Brady shrugged into his jacket and strode quickly to his car. His side ached a little. His mother was going to kill him for going out, but he'd worry about that later. He had to find out what John knew. John lived 6 blocks away, in the last house on a dead-end street. The snow began falling a little harder as Brady drove. Fat, icy flakes built up on the windshield. The wipers worked, but the defroster groaned once and then conked out. Rasha, Brady thought. I'll find out about Rasha, and about that girl with the scars. By the time Brady pulled onto John's street, the car windows had totally fogged up on the inside. He steered with one hand and used his other arm to wipe the mist from the glass. Swirling red and blue lights appeared through the sheet of falling snow. That's weird, Brady thought. He hitched forward in his seat and peered through the smeared windshield. Huh? Police cars? Yes. 2 police cars stood in John's driveway. The third stood half on, half off the curb, its rear end jutting into the street. The front door to John's house stood wide open. Brady hit the brakes. The car skidded to a stop, barely missing the 3rd patrol car. He flung open the door and jumped out. His heart hammered as he raced across the snow-crusted yard, up the slippery stone steps, and into John's house. A police officer stood inside the front door. What's happening? Brady cried. What's going on? Are you a member of the family? The policeman asked, not answering Brady's question. No, I'm a friend. What's going on? Where's John? Brady heard voices and movement in the living room. John? He called, starting down the hall. Hey, you can't go in there. The officer reached out to stop him, but Brady shook his hand off and ran a few steps to the arched door of the living room. The room was crowded with cops, muttering in grim, low tones. Brady pushed through them, scanning the room, searching for John. And then he saw him. John lay sprawled between the couch and the coffee table, arms flung above his head, mouth open in a frozen scream. Red hair fluttering in the cold breeze from the open front door. Brady's pulse thundered in his ears as he stared down at what remained of his best friend. What? He choked out. His neck is broken, Brady heard a policeman mutter. Windpipe crushed, another officer said, shaking his head. Brady stared in shocked horror. John's eyes stared at the ceiling, past the police officers, past Brady. His throat, Brady thought, the panic rising. A heavy marble candlestick lay across John's neck, pressed into the soft flesh, crushing John's throat.